Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a ton of huge news to share with all of you today. Today's date is October 14th, 2025, and it's Tuesday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. So much news to cover with this war update, and today we'll start off talking about new information regarding a possible transfer of US-made Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine, with a news story out of Belarus as President Alexander Lukashenko has sent a new warning to US President Donald Trump, claiming the transfer of these missiles could lead to a nuclear exchange with Russia. Let's go over this new story here on your screen. Belarus issues nuclear warning to Trump amid Tomahawk transfers. This comes as President Donald Trump is considering a request by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for Tomahawks so Kiev can strike targets deep inside Russia. So we've been hearing for a few weeks now that Ukraine could possibly receive these Tomahawk cruise missiles from the United States. They have a range anywhere from 1,500 kilometers upwards of 2,500 kilometers, depending on the variant that could be given to Ukraine that could strike a lot of Russian targets deep inside of their territory. And we've also been hearing a lot of nuclear threats coming out from Russia as well. Russia claiming that they may not be able to distinguish whether there's a nuclear warhead attached to these missiles, because obviously most of us know that these missiles are nuclear capable. So now we've got Alexander Lukashenko speaking to Russian state TV today, claiming that this is most likely not going to bring peace inside of Ukraine, but it could possibly lead to nuclear war. So let me know if you think you agree with him or not. We've heard a lot of statements coming out from Russia in the past claiming that nuclear war was going to start if Ukraine got certain weapons or whatnot, and that has not happened yet. So let me know if you think that's just further posturing coming from Russia today. We'll talk about that story more in just a moment. We also have information that a large electrical substation was struck by Ukrainian drones in the Nizhny Novgorod region of Russia overnight. A fire broke out and damage is reported. So we do have more information that, electrical substations being attacked inside of Russia. We're seeing the same thing happening inside of Ukraine overnight as well. Kharkiv got battered last night. Lots of electrical substations being attacked over there by Russia. We're still seeing this whole war on energy right now on both sides. Also, the Feodosia oil depot in Crimea is still on fire from yesterday's strike. Firefighters have been unsuccessful in containing the blaze. So it's almost been 48 hours now. I think we're approaching almost 40 hours here pretty soon since the Feodosia oil depot was attacked just the night before by Ukrainian drones. Still burning today. I've got new video for that. Then numerous other updates we'll be covering today. Lots of news to cover. Let's go ahead and dive right into this. We're going to hop on over to X with Noel Reports. And it says Lukashenko warns that Tomahawk missiles won't bring peace to Ukraine but could lead to nuclear war. He added Donald Trump probably understands this best, which is why he's in no rush to hand over such deadly weapons or allow strikes deep into Russia, as Zelensky hopes. Here's a picture of Alexander Lukashenko speaking to Russia's state TV recently. That's what he stated, won't bring peace to Ukraine but could lead to nuclear war. Now, we have heard from Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, recently that the whole reason they're calling for these Tomahawk missiles to begin with is to strike targets deep inside Russia to force Russia to the negotiating table, that if they hit critical targets over there, Russia will realize, hey, we can't continue this war anymore. We got to get to a settlement with Ukraine. We can't afford these major hits, let's say maybe on more oil refineries inside of Russia. This will force an end to the war and bring peace. But Alexander Lukashenko believes the opposite, that it will not bring peace and it will actually possibly bring nuclear war. So let me know what you think on that. Do you think this is just Russia and Belarus posturing here and claiming that it could lead to nuclear war to maybe prevent Trump from sending these over to Ukraine? Does this possibly show how afraid Russia really is of Ukraine receiving these? Let me know what you think down below. Now, Anton Gerashenko, more nuclear threats from the Russian propagandists should Ukraine get Tomahawks. Solovyev has said that they, the West, will die but will go to heaven at least 3 times in the past couple weeks. Now, I want to show you this clip coming out from Russian state TV for probably the 100th time now, claiming that nuclear war will start if Ukraine receives these missiles. Take a look at this. There will be subtitles on the bottom.
И если он действительно даст томагавки, я, честно говоря, не очень хорошо
будет пролив имени Сталина.
представляю, как
война.
это будет. Да, это вот тогда приблизит то, что называется
Значит,
ядерным.
хорошо. Но мы же сразу в рай, а они просто сдохнут.
Ну, можно было бы еще чуть-чуть
Желающие
потрепыхаться.
помучиться?
Потрепыхаться.
Можно и помучиться.
И если он
All right, pretty insane statements, right? I can't believe they just openly joke about nuclear war. We've seen this numerous times. They talk about wanting to nuke nations in Europe, possibly even the United States as well. So, yet again, just another major nuclear threat coming out from Russia. Also, obviously, Belarus as well today with Alexander Lukashenko. Just wanted to share with you what they're talking about on state news in Russia regarding these Tomahawks. Now, status 6 important announcements regarding weapons deliveries to Ukraine are expected to be made tomorrow. On October 15th, U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matthew Whitaker told reporters on Thursday. On October 15th, the meetings of the NATO Ukraine Council and Ramstein format are set to take place in Brussels. Okay, so we got some major NATO meetings coming up here soon starting tomorrow. Here's a picture of NATO Ambassador Matthew Whitaker. Apparently, he told reporters, I think that's supposed to say Tuesday, not Thursday, because this information was just coming out today, and obviously it's Tuesday. So, yeah, apparently tomorrow we're going to hear about some major weapons transfers over to Ukraine. As obviously during the Ramstein meeting, that's usually when we hear a lot of those. So expect to hear some major updates in terms of weapons for Ukraine tomorrow. I'm not sure if we'll hear anything about Tomahawks tomorrow. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we'll have to see what happens tomorrow when they start to hold these meetings. Now, the war action says the U.S. will deliver only 50 Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine, which will not be enough to change the course of the war, writes the Financial Times. The U.S. has about 4,150 Tomahawk missiles in its stockpile, but it will be able to transfer only a few dozen to Ukraine. New purchases are limited, says former Pentagon official Mark Kenkine. Trump plans to meet with Zelensky at the White House on Friday, October 17th. At the meeting, they will discuss what types of weapons should be transferred to Kiev, including the possibility of transferring Tomahawk missiles, writes Axios. According to widespread reports, the delivery of Tomahawks to Ukraine has only a symbolic political meaning. That is, this step implies the possession of such American weapons that it will be possible to bomb Moscow. The U.S. arsenal also has air-based cruise missiles with a range of 370 or 970 kilometers, the transfer of which to Ukraine is already being discussed behind the scenes. Unlike Tomahawks, a transfer of hundreds of JASSM or JASSM-ER cruise missiles may be on the agenda. We've been talking about those JASSM missiles also. Those could possibly be going to Ukraine. Here's a picture of the Tomahawk cruise missile that Ukraine might be receiving. So we're going to have to see. There's a lot of big things happening this week. Obviously, this huge meeting between Trump and Zelensky on Friday. That's why I think tomorrow we probably won't hear anything about Tomahawks. This might not be announced till maybe next week if Ukraine starts receiving these. Or who knows, maybe they already have them right now and they're just waiting to announce it. We'll have to see how things play out. But apparently, according to this article as well, they're only going to be receiving about 50 of these. I'm hearing somewhere between 20 and 50 to start out for Ukraine. So we'll have to see what's going to happen there. Now, from Visioner, it says new U.S. decision for Tomahawk cruise missiles. The U.S. has introduced the latest mobile compact launcher created for the Tomahawk. It can launch 4 cruise missiles simultaneously from one container. Most likely, a similar type of mobile launcher complex will be delivered to Ukraine rather than the well-known Typhoon missile launcher complexes, which the U.S. military has in several battery units. So here's likely what Ukraine could be receiving as well. Looks like a mobile launching system. Looks kind of like HIMARS as well, what we see Ukraine already using inside this war against Russia. So apparently this has been unveiled at some sort of new conference recently that could fire up to 4 Tomahawk cruise missiles simultaneously from this single launcher. So this could be really big. Maybe this is the reason why they're announcing this today, is because maybe this is what Ukraine will be receiving if they happen to get these Tomahawk cruise missiles in their possession. So very big news there. Now, Max 25, Trump is inching closer to a landmark decision on supplying Kiev with long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles, according to the Kiev Post. This gambit is strategically calculated not only to bolster Ukraine's defense, but also to force reluctant European allies, particularly Germany, regarding its Taurus missile to follow suit. The pressure is already yielding public diplomatic movement, with announcing on Monday that MERS would speak with Trump about our joint efforts to also help bring an end to the war in Ukraine. Wow, this is huge news. Kiev Post. Push Putin, pressure allies. Trump reportedly ties Tomahawk deal to German missile transfer. So this is going to be regarding the Taurus missile, a missile that Germany has been reluctant to send to Ukraine throughout all these years. Even with the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, he said at some point they'd be open to doing so. But apparently, even with all these statements coming out from him, they have still not sent these over to Ukraine. So it looks likely, could we possibly see these Taurus missiles going to Ukraine as well, on top of the Tomahawk missiles from the United States? Look like we could have a joint project here between Germany and the United States. So we'll see if that happens. That could be very big. And I'm thinking one of the major targets Ukraine is going to go after, especially if they get this cruise missile from Germany known as Taurus, is most likely going to be the Kerch Bridge. That could be a huge hit if they carry that out. Now, Angelica Shalagina, if I'm saying her name right, a fire engulfed the 500 kilovolt Arzamovska electrical substation in the Nizhny Novgorod region. There was a UAV attack. This is evidenced by satellite images 730 kilometers from the border of Ukraine. So this is going to be that strike up here in the Nizhny Novgorod region on that electrical substation. A 500 kilovolt electrical substation came under attack by Ukrainian drones. These were NASA firms maps indicating a major fire that broke out on the western side of the facility. I do have video footage of that today. Ozen Technical, overnight, Ukrainian attack drones penetrated over 700 kilometers of Russian airspace and successfully struck the Arzamovskaya 500 kilovolt electric substation, setting the facility ablaze. The substation handles power for local pipeline, pumping infrastructure, and the Gorky Railway. Here's a video coming out showing this huge fire that broke out on this electrical substation. I'm not sure how many times it got hit, but we're hearing there was a major fire that broke out over here. You can see it clearly burning right here in the background at that electrical substation. So huge hit by Ukraine. We've been seeing them going after a lot of different electrical substations inside of Russia because Russia's doing that to them right now. They're destroying a lot of critical energy and gas facilities inside of Ukraine. So this is Ukraine retaliating for that. All right, now for more translated, the oil depot in Feodosia is still burning. Here's new video footage coming out showing the Feodosia oil depot still on fire about 36 to 40 hours later after it got struck just the night before by Ukrainian drones. We heard anywhere upwards of like 11 oil storage and fuel tanks were destroyed, possibly here at this facility. It was a massive fire that broke out as it was attacked by numerous Ukrainian drones. Still on fire today, almost 2 days later. Now, Igor Sushko occupied Crimea following strikes on the Feodosia fuel depot and the 490 megawatt Tavri power plant. Ukrainian Neptune cruise missiles and drones struck the 117 megawatt Saki thermal power plant and two electrical substations, a 220 kilovolt and a 330 kilovolt, according to the Russians themselves. So this information, regarding this attack on the Feodosia oil terminal that was just the night before, we had information at the time that there was also one other electrical substation that came under attack next to Feodosia where the oil terminal was at. So apparently we knew about those at the time. Just want to give you an update that also we're hearing that there was another thermal power plant that's going to be located over here near Saki on the western side of the Crimean Peninsula that was also attacked. And then on top of that, we do have confirmation of another electrical substation near Simferopol in the central side of Crimea that came under attack as well. We did hear some unconfirmed reports about that yesterday. Looks like that is confirmed. There was two thermal power plants that came under attack, and on top of that, two electrical substations with this attack onto Crimea just 2 days ago. On top of that, the Feodosia oil depot being attacked at the same time. Now, NOAA reports Belgorod and Kursk regions are now without power. They just got their answer. Head of the Center for Countering Disinformation, Andriy Kovalenko, reported. So there was information that last night Ukraine was carrying out strikes inside the Belgorod and Kursk regions, knocking out the power over there. This is exactly what Ukraine's been warning about recently, that if Russia continues strikes on their energy and gas facilities in Ukraine, they have the ability to knock out the power in Belgorod and Kursk regions. That's exactly what they did last night. You can see power outages here. Looks like a little bit of power is on. That could be a generator there also that's powering that light. But nonetheless, power outages reported in Belgorod and Kursk regions last night from Ukrainian strikes. Now, Andriy Sibia, Russia struck a UN humanitarian convoy in the Kherson region. Two World Food Program Ukraine trucks within the convoy delivering food and vital aid were damaged by a deliberate drone attack. Luckily, all staff are alive. Trucks carrying food for people in need, clearly marked with UN emblems. Another brutal violation of international law, proving Russia's utter disregard for civilian lives and its international obligations. We urge UN member states to clearly condemn yet another attack on humanitarian personnel and impose additional pressure on the aggressor. Yeah, this coming out from Ukraine, a Food Program truck coming under attack that's run by the UN, okay, the United Nations, helping out people that are starving over here inside of Ukraine due to being displaced and whatnot, all these different towns being blown up inside of Ukraine. The World Food Program brings food and critical aid to vital communities that need this type of equipment or food or whatever's might be brought in by these trucks. Apparently, one of these came under attack, were struck by a drone. We can see huge damage here. It even caught on fire. Crazy news, and hopefully the UN does condemn this attack and acts on Russia, possibly putting some pressure on them for this strike. Now, status 6, Russian strikes hit energy infrastructure in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv tonight. I've got a video coming out showing Kharkiv being attacked. We got numerous videos, actually. Lots of electrical substations were coming under attack by the Russians last night here in Kharkiv up in northeastern Ukraine.
Все, света нет. Твою мать.
Okay, we'll go ahead and stop it right there. That's pretty much the end of the video, but you can hear that massive explosion. We were hearing that glide bombs were actually being dropped on Kharkiv last night, striking these electrical substations. That's why we had such a massive explosion right there. I do apologize. Some of the bottom of the screen is blurred out. That's done on purpose to protect the Ukrainians over here, so that way the Russians don't adjust their strikes if they happen to miss their targets. But crazy information. Lots of electrical outage reported inside of Kharkiv overnight. Here's another video now. Max 25, Russia targeted a hospital in Kharkiv. Major fire broke out after the strike. Bad information as well last night that apparently we had a hospital being attacked by the Russians over here, glide bomb striking a hospital. People were inside actually and were being injured in these strikes. There was some video footage coming out showing some blood on the ground in certain areas that people were inside and injured from the glass being shattered in these areas of this hospital. It's very horrible news, but this was evidence of a fire that broke out there near this hospital that came under attack. Very sad news and horrible to hear that the Russians targeted yet another hospital in Ukraine. Now, no reports. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says we are so much stronger than the Russians that we don't need to shoot down their planes when they enter our airspace. If we were weak, we might need to prove ourselves immediately. But if there's no threat, a measured response clearly signaling our displeasure is a much stronger move. Yeah, this is going to be NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte speaking at the NATO Parliamentary Assembly today. And he claims that they don't need to shoot down Russian jets, that they can simply just escort them out of their airspace if we happen to see another violation of Russia doing this. But let me know what you think. I think that's a little dangerous to say something like that. This could force Russia to do more in terms of violating airspace of NATO territory. Take a look.
Is that they are saying if a plane would pose a threat, we have the authorities to do, if necessary, the ultimate. But if the plane is not posing a threat, we are not going to shoot it down. And then we will gently guide it outside the airspace. This is exactly what they should do. And I totally agree with that approach, because we are so strong.
Proportional response.
It's proportional response, exactly. And we are so much stronger than the Russians. We don't have to take down Russian airplanes because they enter our airspace. We do it if they enter our airspace and also pose a threat. If we were weak, you might maybe think, okay, we are weak, so we have to immediately show them that whenever they enter our airspace, we shoot them down. But if they don't pose a threat, being so much stronger than the Russians, I think it is much stronger that our reaction is as it is, proportionate, and of course making clear to the Russians that we are not too happy about these incursions. Then is that they are saying.
Okay, so Mark Rutte is saying that they should not shoot down Russian jets that do not pose a threat to NATO airspace, simply escort them out, and he thinks that that will show more strength versus weakness, that the fact that they choose not to shoot down these planes, that shows how strong NATO really is. So let me know if you agree with that thinking. I can kind of see where he's going with that, but again, this is very dangerous to say things like that because this could encourage Russia to carry out more airspace violations onto NATO. Here's another statement also from Military News UA. If China decides to attack Taiwan, it will likely force its partner, Russia, under Putin, to act against NATO to distract us, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said. This was also him claiming that he believes that if China decides to go after Taiwan, we're going to see Russia distract NATO by attacking possibly NATO nations in Europe to start a war over there to prevent all these NATO allies from coming together and helping defending Taiwan if they come under attack. Take a look.
For example, China would move against Taiwan. It's highly likely that China will force the junior partner in that relationship, being Russia, under the leadership of Vladimir Putin, to move against NATO here. To keep us busy. For all these reasons, we have to make sure that we work as strongly together with them. And then on the hybrid threats, this is, of course, a big worry, and we are working on it. For example, China would move.
Okay, so this is actually the second or third time now that we've heard NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte claim that if Taiwan is attacked by China, that China will obviously call on Russia to attack NATO to distract NATO partners while they start to take over Taiwan. Now, I think that could be a possibility. You guys can let me know what you think on that, but this is actually numerous times now he has stated that. Hopefully that will never be the case, that we never see an attack on Taiwan from China, but we know China is preparing for that. Now, War Translated, Putin's press secretary Peskov says Russia, having no alternative, continues the special military operation but is ready for a settlement. Alternative translation is, we will continue the war against Ukraine. Yeah, that was Peskov right here in a statement. He was actually on an interview, and this is what he was saying, that Russia has, having no alternative, continues the special military operation, but they're ready for a settlement on the war. They've said that so many times. Just wanted to share with you an update coming out from the Kremlin. This is what they're saying. They're going to continue the war against Ukraine. They're not going to stop anytime soon. Now, Max 25, Reuters reports exports of oil products from Russia by sea in September decreased by 17.1% compared to August to 7.58 million tons. Unplanned shutdowns of a number of key refineries due to Ukrainian strikes reduced fuel exports and caused an increase in crude oil supplies. Total exports of oil products through Baltic ports, a drop of 15.4% to 4.36 million tons. Though ports of the Black and Azov Seas by 23.2% to 2.52 million tons. In the Far East, a decrease of 1.5% to 661.3 thousand tons. From Arctic ports, an increase of 1.8% to 30.2 thousand tons. That's a lot of different numbers there. But here's the report from Reuters. Russia's seaborne fuel exports sank 17% in September after drone attacks. That is absolutely crazy. 17% fuel exports collapsing. Okay, so that really means that Ukraine's strikes on these oil refineries are really doing heavy damage to the Russian economy because we know just back in August was when these drone strikes started. So just a month later, their fuel exports sank 17%. That's pretty massive. This really shows that Ukraine should continue these strikes onto these oil refineries as it's really affecting Russia's exports, when in the end, what this means is that Russia's losing a lot of money. Now next, Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian oil refineries have hit the country's economy hard, and the effects will last at least until mid-2026. According to the International Energy Agency, or IEA, the drone attacks have cut Russia's refining capacity by around 500,000 barrels per day, bringing total output down to about 5 million barrels per day. The IEA predicts that the sector will not recover before mid-next year. Fuel exports in September collapsed to 2.4 million barrels per day, the lowest level in a decade, excluding the pandemic year of 2020. Moscow is trying to offset the loss by exporting more crude oil, but profits are shrinking. Revenues from refined products dropped by $440 million, and Russia's total oil and fuel income fell to $13.4 billion. The strikes have already triggered a domestic fuel crisis. By late September, hundreds of gas stations had shut down, while authorities tried to calm the situation with promises that everything will soon be fixed. Yeah, it's been going on for more than a month now, but it still has not ended yet. Here's a report from Bloomberg. IEA sees drone hits weighing on Russian refinery runs to mid-2026. And this is not even over yet. We're still seeing Ukraine striking lots of critical oil and gas infrastructure. They haven't hit any refineries recently since over the weekend. I think it was the Ufa refinery that came under attack located in the Bashkortostan region of Russia. But it's been coming up on almost a week now that we haven't seen a refinery being attacked yet. I think we'll probably see one here very soon. But yeah, this report saying that these attacks onto Russia's refineries affecting their economy so badly that they're going to be seeing these effects all the way till mid of next year. So like June, July of next year. These attacks will continue to make Russia suffer for at least another 6 to 8 months, and it will probably continue if Ukraine keeps up these attacks, which I'm assuming they probably will. So crazy news there. Now, Noel reports China has significantly helped Russia gain an edge in fiber optic drone tech, reports the Washington Post. Over the summer, Beijing sharply increased exports of key components like fiber optics and lithium batteries for FPV drone production. While claiming neutrality, China allowed a surge in parts that now fuel Russia's domestic drone assembly. Here's a report from the Washington Post today. Behind Russia's battlefield drone surge in Ukraine, Chinese factories. Chinese sales of fiber optic cable and lithium ion batteries to Russian drone makers surged over the summer, underscoring Beijing's no limits ties with Moscow. So, yet again, another report that China's obviously helping out the Russians. I think it's very clear from most people by now. They are definitely helping Russia fight this war against Ukraine. They're giving them all kinds of critical weapons, or components, that are used for weapons to fight against Ukraine. We've heard about drone engines being transferred over there, all kinds of small electrical components that are used to build bombs, missiles, drones, whatever it might be. They're still getting a lot of that critical equipment from China. Now, this report talking about fiber optic cables and lithium ion batteries that are surging over to Russia right now. So this clearly shows that they are directly supporting Russia's war machine against Ukraine. With more reports like this, let me know how you feel on that. Now, Max 25, the kill zone on the front has deepened by kilometers. Now, the realities of the battlefield are determined by strike drones, and the lethal zone already reaches 10 kilometers, says Sersky. The capabilities of logistics and military medicine acquire enormous importance. Okay, so we got Oleksandr Sersky, the commander of Ukraine's armed forces, claiming that the kill zone on the front line has expanded up to 10 kilometers now. So anything that enters into that area is completely destroyed by Ukrainian drones. And we've been hearing about this. That's the reason why the Russians are not really moving on the front line. When they try to move into these areas of this kill zone, they're immediately wiped out by Ukrainian drones, all these FPV drones as well that they're using. So this really shows why Russia's not really moving on the battlefield, especially with new reports. And this was Sersky reporting this today, a 10-kilometer zone that is so lethal that nobody can cross it right now. Now, Ukrainian Review. Trump says President Erdogan can help with the Russia-Ukraine war. He is respected by Putin. He's a friend of mine. I get along with the tough ones. I don't get along with the weak ones. This was Trump aboard Air Force One today. I think he's coming back from Egypt and the Middle East here very soon. That's what he stated here. He thinks that President Erdogan can help end this war. That they've actually been calling on Turkey to get more involved, and Turkey has been helping out with negotiations, allowing a format of a Ukrainian and Russian delegation to meet in Istanbul in recent months earlier this year. But he believes that Erdogan has the power to help end this war. So let's see if Turkey gets involved here very soon, with Trump pressuring Erdogan to help out end this war with Ukraine. Now, Kyiv Independent. Military aid to Ukraine declined sharply in recent months. Report says military aid to Ukraine has fallen dramatically in recent months. A report by the Kiel Institute published on October 14th has found. Yeah, I wanted to bring this up because it was something that I thought about. If you guys have noticed, I'm not showing any reports at all regarding to military supplies going to Ukraine. There's I'd say probably about a 6-month pause now where we haven't really reported a whole lot of military equipment going to Ukraine. Just prior to that, let's say the last year or 2 years, it was like almost every week they were reporting, whether it be European nations or the U.S., just handing over some military supplies over to Ukraine. And that has really slowed down. I thought about that today and I was like, wow, I realized that I have not been reporting military equipment and aid packages going to Ukraine. But the good news is tomorrow we will have that Ramstein meeting and the NATO Council meeting as well. So they're probably going to be announcing lots of military packages for Ukraine. So hopefully that will help, as we are seeing, according to this report, a sharp decline of military aid to Ukraine in recent months. Now, military news UA. During the night, Ukrainian military shot down 69 out of 96 Russian UAVs. So almost 100 drones going into Ukraine overnight. Again, we've been seeing this about 80 to 100 or so per night. And then every, probably 3 or 4 days or so, Russia launches a huge attack onto Ukraine with hundreds of drones, sometimes upwards of 30 to 50 missiles. That could be coming here very soon. We're coming up on the end of the week. Usually Thursday to Saturday is usually when we see a large attack onto Ukraine. So that might be coming soon. But it's good to see that 69 out of these 96 were destroyed by Ukraine's defense forces. Good news there. All right, now the Kyiv Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of October 14th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In our final update, Russia's losses as of October 14th, 1,200 troops, 145 vehicles and fuel tanks, 5 tanks, 29 artillery systems, 390 UAVs, and it looks like that is it. So no anti-aircraft warfare system destroyed today or multiple launch rocket systems, which we have been seeing a lot recently. 29 artillery systems, about average numbers there. Tanks and AFVs, very little for both, but there were 5 tanks being destroyed here. Vehicles and fuel tanks up a lot today. We've been seeing about 75 to 80 or so on average for several weeks now. Looks like this is jumping back up to 150, which is how things were just back prior several months ago. And then troop losses up a lot today, 1,200. You usually see about 900 on average there. And we have been seeing these numbers climbing up over the last couple of days. So I wonder if the Russians are launching more attacks. And if they are, they're starting to take on more losses. So guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in for today's update on October 14th, 2025. Everybody have a great day out there. Take care and be safe. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.